It's very common to be reluctant to leave the moldy environment that is currently making you sick. Your body will finally feel like it's able to let go of those toxins when you're giving it the vitamins and minerals that it needs. These are really important questions to ask yourself before you embark on a detox protocol. Welcome to Golden Girl, a space where we dive deep into health, healing, connection, and community. I'm your host, Becca Golden, and this podcast is all about sharing and documenting my journey. Each episode, we'll discuss topics like health and wellness, what I'm learning in therapy, work-life balance, relationships, community, and all the ways I strive for more aliveness and presence every day. Let's dive in. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Golden Girl. Today's episode is going to be about how I am recovering from mold illness. I've been getting a lot of questions about what I've done that's worked, what hasn't worked. And as I've been reflecting on this, I'm realizing that there's so much along the way that I learned that I wish I had known sooner. So this episode is going to cover a few different things. It's going to be how someone could recover from mold illness if you have been exposed to mold or if you realize that you've been living in mold. And it's also going to talk about what to do if that type of protocol is not working for you and why that might be. I will also talk about the different challenges that I ran into along the way over the course of my own healing journey. And really, the purpose of today's episode is not to be an expert in any of these topics, but just to offer perspective because this is something that I've gone through and I'm very much still going through it, but I have learned so much and I want to share that knowledge with everybody. On today's episode, I also want to talk a little bit about victim mentality because in the world of chronic illness and the world of mold toxicity, I have to admit it is really tempting to want to blame the mold for everything and to just say, this is what's happened to me. This is what's been taken from me. Here are all of the ways that I have been victimized by this situation. And I think there is a time and a place for that. Of course, there is so much grieving that needs to be done. I mean, mold can sometimes take away someone's home. It can take away all of your belongings. It can take away your identity. It can take away a loved one. And people are dealing with so much hardship. And it is really heartbreaking what mold can do to you. But as heartbreaking as it is equally important that you not remain a victim in this process. You have to be willing to take matters into your own hands. You have to be willing to not give up on yourself in order to get better. And this is something that I see time and time again with the people who reach out to me and with the people that I meet out in the wild is that the people who get better are the ones who believe that they can. And if you believe that you cannot get better, you're not going to. So that's something that might not be easy to hear. I know when I was in the deep depths of my chronic illness situation, I refused to believe that my future was going to be someone with illness. I refused to accept that. And I'm so glad that I refused to accept it because I really believe that's why I'm here today, able to speak coherently and able to sit upright without being in pain. And it's hard. It is really hard, but I really believe that you can get better. It is possible to get better. Of course, you have to grieve what you've lost. It's so important to honor your experience and what's happened to you. You have to honor how you're feeling, but you also have to know with every fiber of your being that you will get better, and you have to believe it. You really have to believe it in order to get better. Everyone's situation is completely different, but personally, I feel like the mold was a catalyst for deeper healing in my life that I desperately needed. So I'm really grateful. And everyone gets to have their own story. Okay, for anyone listening to this, if you are dealing with mold illness, CIRS, MCAS, whatever it is, you have the same first step. Step number 1, get out of the mold. You have to do this step. You have to do this step. There is something that is known as mold hold, and I personally experienced this in this very house. Mold hold is something that the mold does, and this isn't like an official term or anything, but the mold will get in your head. The mold will start to make you feel like you can't leave whatever environment you're in. So in this very house where I am sitting as we speak, I knew I had a mold problem. I thought that there was mold in my shower, and I figured there might have been some mold in the HVAC system, but I just decided, you know what? I'm really busy and I'm really sick, so I'm just going to sleep in this other bedroom that's farther away from the mold. I'm not proud to say this. Living in this house made me so sick, and I could have left earlier and I didn't. I just got sicker and sicker, and it's weird what it did to me. It's like the longer I stayed in the house, the more I didn't want to leave. And I cannot explain that except for this concept called mold hold, which supposedly is a thing. It's like if you are living in the mold makes you want to stay in it. What I'm trying to say is that if you are living in mold right now, you might be reluctant to leave, and that is completely normal. I just want to normalize that. It's very common to be reluctant to leave the moldy environment that is currently making you sick. It's backwards. It doesn't make any sense, but a lot of people have trouble leaving the moldy environment that is making them sick because of what the mold does to you. The mold will mess with your head. This happened to me in this house. I was afraid to leave. And as soon as I left, I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad that I left. But before I left, I didn't want to leave. And then even after I would come back to the house to pick things up, I felt the house pulling me back in. I just want you to know that if you are reluctant to leave the house that is making you sick, you're not alone. It's very real. A lot of us experience that, but you still have to leave. And it's scary. And I know you might not have the finances to be able to make it happen, but you have to know that everything else in this entire video is not going to get you very far if you don't leave the house. And I know that by my own experience too, because I was going through my mold healing protocol in the house that was making me sick. If you are living in the house that is making you sick, or the apartment that's making you sick, if you are in the same environment, you have to get out of that environment in order for anything that I talk about in this video to get you anywhere. Regardless of where you fall on the spectrum of sick, you will continue to be sick if you stay in the moldy environment. So I'm sorry to give you that tough love, but it is so true. You have to do it. Step number 1, leave the mold. I cannot emphasize this enough. Now, here's where we get into some nuance. Throughout this whole conversation, there's going to be a lot of nuance because everyone is different. All of us as human beings have different needs. Our body chemistry is different. Our genetics are different. And genetics play a huge role in the way that mold affects you. So for the next section, I'm going to be talking about a typical mold detox protocol for someone who does not have something called CIRS. This is when I talk about something that I wish I had known at the beginning of my mold detox journey. So at the beginning of my mold detox protocol, I assumed that you detox the mold. When the mold's out of your body, you're better. And after months and months, maybe even a year of doing a mold detox protocol and really not getting the results that I was looking for, I learned about something called Chronic Inflammatory Response Syndrome, also known as CIRS. I'm not an expert in CIRS, but I do know that 25% of the population is going to develop CIRS when exposed to mold. And if you are one of those people who develop CIRS, your recovery process is going to be completely different. You have to follow a very specific protocol, and I'm not going to go into what all those steps are. The purpose of today's video is to talk about what the mold detox process looks like and why you have to do these steps for the average person who does not have CIRS. So if you already know that you have CIRS or Chronic Inflammatory Response Syndrome, this video is probably not for you, and I would recommend that you go watch a video on the Shoemaker protocol, or if by the time you're seeing this, I've recorded a video with a CIRS professional, then you can watch one of those videos. But today's video is not going to cover CIRS. Today's video is going to cover what the mold detox process would look like for the average person. And I'm making this disclaimer right now because when I was at this stage of my mold detox, I wish I had known that CIRS existed. If I had known that CIRS existed, then right when I started detoxing, I probably would have gotten tested for this gene so that I could have used that information to guide my detox process. But I didn't know about CIRS, and I was just doing the best that I could. And so I followed a regular detox process for someone who does not have that gene. I also just want to say that as someone who does have CIRS, all of the steps that I followed in my protocol were incredibly helpful, even though it did not completely alleviate my symptoms and I needed additional support, everything that I was doing helped me because it was helping rebuild health within my body. Regardless of whether you are somebody who might have CIRS, there are foundations that you have to be doing so that your protocol is going to work for you. And those are things like regulating your circadian health and having an anti-inflammatory diet, removing stress from your life, making sure that you're really caring for yourself, getting enough sleep, regulating your nervous system, things like that. All of those things are really important for everybody. No matter who you are, you have to be getting good sleep. You need to make sure that your diet is not full of inflammatory oils and processed foods. These are just the foundations because if you are not getting sleep every night, it doesn't matter what protocol you follow, it's not going to help you get better. You have to be sleeping every night. You have to be doing these foundational things. And something as simple as making sure that you turn the lights off at night when the sun goes down and only use red light after the sunset, like that can be huge. So simple things. I'm not going to go into circadian health today. That should be an entire other podcast episode, but focusing on your actual body's holistic health is so important in any kind of mold detox protocol. Every mold detox protocol is going to be highly individualized and everyone's a little bit different. Some people are going to have a gut infection. Some people are going to have different types of symptoms that lead to different types of protocols. But for today's episode, I'm just going to be talking about what I did in my own detox protocol and why I needed those types of supports. So, assuming that you've completed step 1, which is to get out of the mold, the next thing that you're going to want to focus on is your minerals. So once I thought I had gotten out of the mold, my first step in my own detox protocol was not actually to focus on detoxing. In any detox protocol, you really have to think about where you're starting from, and everyone's going to be a little bit different. If you are going to begin to bind toxins in your body, for one thing, you want to make sure that your body has enough support to actually maintain those processes. Like, are you so stressed and so depleted that your body is not going to be able to handle another physiological process? Like, are you digesting your food well? Are you having a bowel movement every day? Are you sleeping well? How's your liver health? Are you breaking out in hives all the time? Like, these are really important questions to ask yourself before you embark on a detox protocol. Because if your body is already feeling really depleted, then the first thing you need to do is build up your resilience. You have to build up your minerals and vitamins and electrolytes. And if you're already running on completely empty, then any detox process is just going to be additionally hard on you. So for me, I was so depleted. I was bedridden and unable to speak in coherent sentences. And most of my symptoms started off as hormonal symptoms. So I first tested my hormones. In retrospect, that didn't make any sense because I didn't know that hormones relied on minerals. So now if I were to start all over again, I would start by doing a hair tissue mineral analysis. And that's because the hair tissue mineral analysis is going to analyze all the vitamins and minerals in your hair tissue, which is representative of the vitamins and minerals that are getting into your tissues in your body. My hair tissue mineral analysis was so depleted. I was so depleted. I had, I've talked about this in previous episodes. I had no vitamins, no minerals. My body wasn't absorbing anything. And that's because I was living in mold. I now know that. But if your body doesn't have any vitamins or minerals, then you're not going to be able to support a detox process because your body's going to be holding on to everything it has, for dear life. If you have nothing left to replenish, then why would your body want to let go of what it has already held on to? It won't want to do that. So my first step was to remineralize my body. I started taking a custom mineral blend. I talk about this on a minerals episode that I recorded with my friend Madeline a while back, and minerals are just so important. I eventually added in a binder, and this is what's going to be detoxing the mold for the average person. If you're remineralizing your body, that means you're giving your body what it needs and you're binding out what your body does not need. That's going to be mycotoxins. That's going to be heavy metals. It's going to be any kind of toxins that your body doesn't want to be holding on to. Your body will finally feel like it's able to let go of those toxins when you're giving it the vitamins and minerals that it needs. So that's one portion of this. Another reason why your body is not going to have vitamins and minerals is because when you're around mold, mold is creating a stressor in your body. And when your body is under stress, the first thing that it's going to start using up is your minerals, your electrolytes. So sodium, potassium, magnesium. Mold is also going to be taxing on your adrenals because if you're in a state of stress, your adrenals are trying to keep up with everything, and adrenals require vitamin C. Your body has all of these different processes that are designed to protect you from stress, but mold is a chronic stressor. If you think back to like caveman times, your stress response is designed to be running from a scary animal. If you're running from a lion, your stress response in your body is designed to protect you. It's designed to give you a surge of adrenaline and spike your cortisol, and you're going to be running from this lion so that you can have all of your energy and all of your strength for just this moment when your life depends on it. And then the lion goes away and you can rest and relax and your body reaches equilibrium again. That's a regulated nervous system. That's adrenals that are functioning properly. But when you're living in mold, mold is putting your body at stress all the time. So your body thinks it's constantly running from a lion, which means that it's using up all of the adrenal function that it has available. And then your body is going to be really depleted because it's not designed to be running from a lion at all times. It's designed to be running from a lion in short spurts every so often with time to recover. If you're living in mold, that means that the time you are resting, when your body is supposed to be recovering, you're not actually recovering. Your body is going to be using up all of the reserves. Everything that it has available is going to be used to protect you from the mold. And the mold is going to do a really good job at depleting you. So that is why the first step is not just to get the mold out of your body. The first step is to make sure that your body is resilient enough to handle a detox protocol. Another reason that your body might not be able to handle a detox protocol has to do with your drainage pathways. So if you are in a sauna and you're not sweating, that means that your body is not able to detox through your skin. Your skin is the largest organ in your body. If your body can't detox through your skin, you better hope that you have another detox pathway available. Are you having a bowel movement every day? If you're not having a bowel movement every day, then your body is recirculating all the toxins that it's not excreting out of you. So these are things that you have to keep in mind before you start a detox protocol. If you start to take a binder is something that binds the mycotoxins and heavy metals and different types of foreign things that you don't want in your body. It binds it all up and allows you to excrete it out. But if you're not having a bowel movement every day, then taking a binder is not what you want, and it can even cause a flare in your symptoms. So that's something to keep in mind. Another thing that is going to be really hard to do if you have not moved out of the mold is that you need to start regulating your nervous system. This is how I personally figured out that I was still living in mold, was that my nervous system was completely dysregulated, and I developed something called mast cell activation syndrome, also known as MCAS. I have another episode on MCAS that I can link below. MCAS is really driven by nervous system dysregulation, and I thought I had done everything possible to regulate my nervous system. That means I was doing meditation, I was doing breath work, I was going to trauma therapy every week. I really had been healing. I was crying every day, like healing all sorts of trauma, doing somatic release. I did everything that I possibly could to do nervous system healing. Having a healthy nervous system doesn't mean that you never get stressed. It just means that if there is a stressor, you're able to bounce back from it. So when my nervous system was not regulated, these are the things that I noticed. I would be at the gym lifting weights, and whenever someone would drop weights, it would make me jump. I was like afraid of the sound would make me feel really afraid just from somebody dropping their weights. Now that my nervous system is more regulated, that sound doesn't bother me. When I was in the car driving, before my nervous system was regulated, when I was still living in the mold, if something scary happened on the road, it would startle me and my body would continue to be startled all the time. And I realized I never really felt relaxed, and I didn't know why. I just started feeling like something was very wrong and I couldn't figure out why. I wanted to stay home a lot. I didn't really want to leave the house. Everything was hard on me. Everything was a little scary, and I was just overwhelmed all the time. So if your nervous system is not regulated, you're not going to be able to have healthy bowel movements because your body's going to be stressed. So this is all to say that when you're living in mold, the mold is going to dysregulate your nervous system because The mold is a stressor on your body. It is constantly making your body feel like there is a threat. So after you leave the mold, there are some people who are not going to feel relief because their body still thinks there's a threat because it's lived in that threat for so long. Within your body, there's something called the limbic system. And your limbic system is what picks up on stressors around you at a subconscious level. So when you are living in mold, your body learns that there is a threat at all times. And because of that, once you leave the moldy environment, sometimes your body isn't updated on the fact that you're no longer in the mold, and so it will continue to think that there's a threat. So sometimes there are people who have to do a nervous system program or a limbic system program. There are several available. There's one called Primal Trust. There's one called the Gupta Method, DNRS. All of these programs are helpful to retrain your limbic system that there is no longer a threat available so that you feel safe in your body again after you've moved out of the mold. Now, here's where I'll talk about something that I had done wrong. So when I was in this house, thinking that this house did not have mold in it, and the mold was not visible, the house didn't have a smell, everything in here was squeaky clean and pretty new, and I started having all these crazy symptoms that went on and started getting worse. And I developed something called mast cell activation syndrome, which is highly tied to your nervous system. And I assumed that my nervous system was just dysregulated. And I assumed that all my symptoms were just because my limbic system wasn't updated at the fact that I was no longer living in mold, because I thought this was like a previous mold exposure that I was healing from. So while I was unknowingly living in a moldy environment, I enrolled in Primal Trust, thinking that the problem was just in my limbic system and that I just needed to reprogram my mind. But all that did was gaslight my body into believing that it is safe when it clearly wasn't. So there's a fine line here between believing that your limbic system is needing a program to reprogram it and honoring the messages from your body and digging in a little deeper and making sure, absolute sure, that your environment does not have mold in it. It's tricky, and you just have to sort of make that decision for yourself. Because your body is going to be under chronic stress from living in the mold, another huge part that you have to pay attention to is your adrenal health. So for me, my adrenals were super taxed because I was taking Vyvanse every day for 15 years. And the Vyvanse was telling my body to be in fight or flight, the sympathetic nervous system, at all times. And I was taking way too much. I didn't even need to be taking that, but I was. So for me, in order to heal my adrenals, I had to get off of the Vyvanse, and then I had to support my adrenals. And what I did for that was I read a book by Dr. Isabella Wentz about adrenal health, and that helped me tremendously. I followed the protocol in that book. I don't know if everybody is going to need to do that part of the protocol. It's not something I normally see in mold detox protocols, but for me personally, being on the Vyvanse was preventing me from being able to heal because it was keeping my body in fight or flight. So if you are on any stimulant medication for ADHD, just keep in mind that the stimulant medication could be contributing to additional activation in your body that your body might not be able to handle right now. And it doesn't mean that you can never be on it. It's just something to think about and be aware of for your situation. Okay. So now let's say that you've done all of these things. Let's say you've left the moldy environment, you've been remineralizing, you've taken the binder, your circadian health is in check, your diet is in check, you've removed any gut infections, and you still don't understand why your health is not getting better. If that is the case, and you feel like you have symptoms in every single part of your body, then that would be a time to look into a shoemaker protocol. We're not going to talk about CIRS on today's episode, but if you do have CIRS, you have to follow what's called a shoemaker protocol. This is something that I figured out I had very recently, just a couple months ago, as I was going through all of this healing. I had done the mineralization, I had done the binder, I had gone through all of these steps, I left the mold, and I was getting better, but I still had a lot of symptoms. And so at that point, I reached out to a company called Moldco, and I am now through them doing an abbreviated shoemaker protocol to address CIRS. On my journey, this has been such an incredible awakening for me, going through the mold illness and having to really grapple with parts of who I am that I wasn't proud of. Like, I really worked on so much in therapy because I was refusing to accept my reality, and my whole life is different because of this. So personally, I really think that I needed to completely overhaul my entire relationship with my body and my health. I needed to work on my circadian health. I was eating like crap. I was barely sleeping. I was stressed all the time. I was not exercising or moving my body or paying attention to my lymphatic system. Like everything in my body, I was ignoring all the time. So because I didn't discover that until the end, I really set myself up with all these solid foundations so that my body could actually function as a human body the way it's supposed to. And now I'm going through a CIRS protocol. I will say, after a whole year of trying to heal the right way and heal the absolute root cause, I have always been focused on healing the very root cause that there is. And I always knew that my body had the ability to function well without any additional supplements or help. I knew that once I got my body to a certain point of health and functioning, that my body would be able to maintain more health than it's ever had before. And after so much time and energy spent being sick, I really just have been looking to have better functioning lately. I started this podcast and I was so excited to do the podcast, and then I ran into more health symptoms as I've been going through my healing process. And I would say that I've been incredibly patient with everything my body's been telling me, and I want to be listening with curiosity and compassion. But I also need to have a quality of life, and I know I'm not alone here. So I just want to take this moment now to share that there is no shame in using certain types of medications or supplements as a tool to give you a better quality of life. I think so many of us with chronic illness are people who have been people pleasers and perfectionists. We are the go-getters, and we are used to having everything follow the exact right way. And I think that creates a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves to heal correctly and to heal admirably. And at least for me, that was the case. I would feel embarrassed to take a medication because I felt like the Western medicine world had failed me. So I was trying to get off of my medications. But now where I'm at, I now believe that it is really important to incorporate tools where they're necessary to help give you a better quality of life. And that especially applies to MCAS, but it also applies to anybody who's going on a healing journey. So I am remineralizing, and I am working on my nervous system, and I'm going to trauma therapy, and I'm moving my body, and I lift weights, and I am giving myself plenty of rest, and I eat nutritious whole foods and things like that. Like, I'm doing all of these elements as I also am going through this abbreviated shoemaker protocol for CIRS. While I'm doing that, I also was so struggling with energy in my adrenals. And as I've repaired my adrenals, I got off of my Vyvanse for a long time, and now I'm considering adding it back in. All I want to do is advise people to make sure that you're making informed decisions and to not have shame in whatever you choose to do that you believe is right for you in your own healing journey. It is okay to not be perfect, and it is okay to not do everything the natural way every single time, as long as you feel like you are making an informed decision. That is the key there, is never feeling pressured to be on or off of something without really understanding it. So if there's anything that you're considering taking or anything that somebody has recommended to you, whether it's a medication or a peptide or a supplement, I encourage you to listen to lots of podcasts about it. Listen to a variety of perspectives. Try to get as much information about it as possible so that you can make the right decision for yourself, because not all of us are medical professionals. I'm certainly not a medical professional, and it can be really daunting to make these decisions when you don't have a medical background and when you're so filled with brain fog that you can barely form a sentence. It's really difficult to then make these critical decisions about your health. I'm also on like 30 different supplements that I definitely don't want to be on forever. Like, my goal is to get my body to be able to maintain all of these processes on its own without having to be taking 30 supplements. But right now, that's my reality. And this is what I've chosen for myself. I'm always open to doing more things. And I'm open to learning about other types of healing, because in my personal health journey, I like to be open-minded, and I also like to know what I'm signing up for. So for anybody out there who is experiencing shame and considering a tool that they can use for themselves, I just want to normalize using those tools, because you should always feel like you can make whatever decision is right for your own body and your own health without being shamed for it. So for anybody out there who has found out that they have mold in their body, or they're struggling to figure out what to do about the mold that they found in their house, I hope that this has been helpful for you. I certainly wish that I had seen a video like this when I first began my journey. This whole thing can be really overwhelming, and I just want you to know that if you're going through this, you are absolutely not alone. There are so many people out there who've gone through mold illness and who've gotten better, who've recovered from CIRS, people who have their health back, they get their lives back, and you really can do it. I know it's so scary and daunting, and it can feel so isolating. So I just want you to know you are not alone. There's so many of us going through this right alongside you. If you have any questions, please comment below. And if this has been helpful for you, definitely reach out. It's so nice for me to hear from you guys. Whenever I hear from you, it makes me feel really encouraged to keep going. As I said, I am still very much dealing with a lot of my health symptoms, so it's not always easy to record and post episodes, but I know it makes a difference. So if you are following along, please know that your support really means the world to me, and I hope you continue to follow along for more. I will see you guys next time.